And the reason being is because that's where crime is centered. So in the city of New Haven, they are driven by data. So if you have a community, let's say Newhallville, that is experiencing an uptick in shootings, in gun violence, and property crimes, they will delegate more resources to that area. The sad thing is, we take the East Shore, which is a predominantly white community. You'll see just the opposite. Yeah, you'll see little property crime, but you don't see any gun violence, and you won't see the need for the over-policing. So areas like the East Shore might have one police car assigned from, let's say, from Forbes Avenue to the East Haven line, going in both directions, versus going into the city of New Haven in the inner city neighborhoods. In every district, the city of New Haven is made up of 10 districts. So districts like 6, which is Newhallville, yes, you're going to have an uptick in over-policing because you're going to see more criminal activity. And in an attempt to negate the criminal activity, they try and put resources. They try and delegate the manpower, which is sad to say in the city of New Haven. When I started out in the police department in 1978, the New Haven Police Department was close to 500 strong. Right now, I think it is maybe 325, maybe 300. They are at a serious loss. And the problem is for them is getting black and brown candidates. It's sad to say that a lot of candidates, inner city residents, don't have the desire to be policing. The things of recent times have turned them off, but at the same time, the only way we're going to create change is by creating change within. We can't create change from the outside. We have to join the ranks. We have to take the test to become sergeants, lieutenants, and captains, and become chiefs. That's the only way we change the system. Now, Captain Grady was the one who taught me eloquence. He was the one that told me the first opportunity that I got to take a speaking class, So I took 2 speaking classes in college, and as a result, my style of speaking has always been sought after. But Captain Grady would send me to community meetings. And it wasn't until after I was on for a few years that he explained to me why I was being sent. Because I looked like the community, that I came from the community, and that I could understand and relate to their issues and speak to them. Now, for a period of time, especially during the drug culture of the 90s, of the crack epidemic, the early 2000s, the community and police relations suffered. At one point, there was a new chief brought in, Chief Nicholas Pastor. And Chief Nicholas Pastor was from not too far from here. He's from Oak Street, which was a mixed community of black, brown, Portuguese. It's in the area of where the hospital is now. And he made it an effort to change the dynamics of how the community was engaged. Because after Captain Grady retired, there was never an effort made for the police to have representation throughout the community. It was put upon the district managers. Mm-hmm. So the district manager, there was one district manager that I emulated. His name was Sergeant Tony Greto. And he was an old school cop who, when we worked midnights, he would get out and he would check the doors of the commercial establishments. Mm-hmm. He was the one that would made choices and bringing in people that would be effective in his community. He attended all the community events. That started changing the dichotomy of how supervision looked at being involved in the New Haven police community. And then, like I said, it suffered a bit, and now since Chief Carl Jacobson makes it a point to be at every community meeting. He makes it a point to make sure to share his opinion. He is, I call him a brother, even though he's a brother from another mother. He is white, but he clearly understands the issue of the minority community. Him and I were at a conference in Long Island, New York a few years ago, and I'll never forget him standing up and challenging. There were prosecutors and police from all over the Northeast, and him pointing out that he did not become a policeman to become an oppressor. that he became a policeman to uplift people and to help people, and that he couldn't agree with everything that was said and that was done. And I gotta tell you, I watched these white cops looking in awe, and usually I'm the person that's not approachable, and I had more people coming to me and say, could you give me the chief's card? Can you get me this brother's card? Can you make sure we exchange information? So only through the efforts of Chief Carl Jacobson and him bending over backwards to meet the community where they are, because we cannot be successful in the city of New Haven unless the community is engaged. The neighborhood that you're in right now is called West River. It is District 4. Part of the success that we've had in reducing gun violence is because we are engaged in making sure our police leadership and supervision are responsive to our needs, that we're not just being told, yes, this is the issue and we're going to do something about it. Most of the residents, we have our district manager's number. We call him outright. Hey, there's a problem at 52 Miller Street. Could you get somebody over there? We don't want an official, but just to ask them to lower the music. It's working with police in that sense to build a better and stronger community. The police are part of our community. They might not live in our community 24 hours, but for some of them, they're here 8 hours, 16 hours. So they're very much a part of our community and what occurs and happens in our community. And the only way that we're going to be able to eliminate a lot of the things that happen in our community is by working together. We don't have to be snitches, but we gotta work to empower. I gotta work to empower. Nothing comes near my house. So, first I'm going to put it down to a cultural point. When you're not from our community, I say it again, when you are not from our community, when you are not from a community that has had black and brown people in it, if you've grown up never having had contact with black and brown people, and then you're thrust in an inner city urban community, yeah, there's apprehension, there's fear. And until that human factor comes in, where you relate to people as people, where you speak to people. Most of the people in our communities have Southern roots. So we say good morning, we say good afternoon, we say good evening, we say good night, right? If you don't do that, you're rude. So we have policemen and policewomen who come into our communities who don't look like us. And when children speak to them, they don't speak. When the grandmothers from the porch wave and say, how you doing, officer? They don't speak. It's an alienating factor. And that drives a wedge in between community and police. But when police act the same way they are in their own communities, and they speak and they treat people accordingly with respect and dignity. I happen to be a guest lecturer at the Yale School of Medicine, as well as a number of other resources. And one of the things that I'm always reminding people, young cops, nurses, doctors, that when you have a 90-year-old woman, a black woman, you don't call her by her first name. That's Miss Sadie or Mrs. Sadie. If it's the man the same age, that's Mr. Isaiah. You give respect, you'll get respect. And it's teaching them little things like that, because if you've never been taught that, it's foreign. But when you learn it, I'll bring you back to one of my old partners, and he was my partner in the Connecticut State Police. His name was Detective Ricky Pelletier. His street name was Cool Breeze. Now he's a portly white dude with a crew cut. But brother, when I tell you, when he would get on the phone, let's say we're doing a raid, he'd get on the phone and he put on that black syntax and, hey, come on over here and get this, man. Come on, man. Come on, what you waiting for? Come on. And he was so real. He took on a black syntax, his children. He would tell you he had 2 daughters. He would tell you, my girls got all the Medea collection. And I was going, oh, Breeze, you ain't going home talking like that. He said, yeah. Shit. I said, come on, Breezy. Shit. And he was for real. But on the same hand, when we went into households and people saw that he was real and saw that he was genuine and that he had a little flavor to him, man, they sit down with him just as quick. One time we were doing an undercover operation in a bar out around the Hartford area. It was an illegal after hours. And we all went in. There was 4 different undercovers. It was myself, another black undercover who's now dead, state trooper, and another state trooper who's now a prosecutor, and Cool Breeze, and myself. We went in all the different stages. And Cool Breeze comes in, he sends us at the table. Now it's a strip club. Bro, when I tell you, he got surrounded. He got surrounded. He had a whole table of women with him. He said, "You like this?" And he put that flavor on. And next thing you know, they're laughing. And we're all looking over there like, what is this? I say all that is that he was real. And people recognize real. When you come there and you're phony and you're stiff and you're like some robot, but when you come there and you're real and say, "Listen, I understand you," guess what? Don't be surprised you see me parked in front of your house every now and then. I'm going to be checking by, you see me driving. That's real. That's what people want to see. And it doesn't take much, but it just takes compassion, respect. And again, a lot of people have not been taught that. If you've never been taught that, if you've never been around black or Hispanic people, again, that lesson, Mr. Doña, and for Hispanics, it's Doña for a woman, it's Don for a man. Don Isaiah, Doña Virginia. Giving respect, it goes a long way.
Okay. Now,
Yes. So at one point I was working New London, and I was in a biker bar that had some illegal activity going on. And even undercover. So undercover, I have a fictitious name. I have a fictitious name with ID, with multiple sets of ID that are listed and a pistol permit. So I'm still going in armed. I still have to be armed. So I'm in this club and I watch a couple of interactions go down. And when you're undercover, you're not supposed to take part in the raid. So when they finally came in and raided, it was some New London cops that were part of this group. They raided. For some reason, there was this one white New London cop who just had a thing with me. And he was definitely targeting me. But he had nothing, there was nothing that he could put on me. And then he tried to say, "Well, your gun." So I'm a legal pistol permit holder. I can hold a gun. I can carry a gun. And he kept it up and kept it up and kept it up and kept it up and kept it up. And finally, the state police personnel who didn't let him know that I was undercover, they cut me loose. But yes, I have been targeted. I was targeted also in Norwalk, where I did a case with a mother and son team. The mother was the son's lieutenant. And we set up a drug deal. I knew something was suspicious. Now, where we're doing the drug deal, I'm in a car, but the car has got a camera in the mirror. The car has a camera in the outside mirror, and the had a camera in the dash. And then I'm wired. And they brought me to a location that was secluded. I said, "Oh, they get ready to rob me." I took my stuff out and made sure I had it close. And they took me somewhere else. And more people showed up. Then they took me to a third location. I said, "Oh, this is where it's about to go down." I knew I was going to be in a gunfight. And somehow police ended up intervening. I get stopped by the police, which leads me to some questions. And I had a suppressed identity, which means my identity was that I worked as a bouncer at a bar in Norwalk. Do you know that they ran me and they went to the bar and checked to see if I worked at the bar? That was by a cop. So, yes. Sad to say, when I left the New Haven Police Department, it was in the midst of corruption and being a person of integrity. I couldn't be a part of it, and I'll never forget, I pulled the chief of detectives in, who happened to be a black man, and I let him know, you got some stuff going on here that just by me knowing makes me dirty, and I'm not dirty, and I'm not going to jail behind nobody else's stupidness. And I was told, Stacy, we're going to run the detective division the way we want. I made him say it 3 times. That happened on a Wednesday. Saturday, I was gone. So I don't do mess, and the corruption, I can't be a part of it. Department. When I started out in the New Haven Police Department, there were probably less than 40 black and Hispanic cops all together. There was probably less than, I say, 15 women. So it's imperative that the police department should be reflective of the community that it serves. If you serve a community that's majority minority, then you need to have a good representation of minority candidates. Secondly, the police department needs to continue doing every outreach effort in making sure that not only is supervision and leadership at community meetings, but they are part of the decisive plans to change any action in that community. So if there's a concept that's come about for reducing gun violence or reducing property crime or reducing youth stealing cars, that the police have to be a part of it, and that the community has to be a part of anything that the police do. When the community and the police work hand in hand, there's nothing we can't accomplish. The position I ran with Project Longevity as a program manager, one of the things that we did to ensure that second chance citizens did not recidivate once they came home was to make sure that they got the resources that they needed. They're more likely to recidivate when I need shoes, when I need to feed my kids, when I need a roof over my head. Those things will drive a person to do things that they don't, especially when children are involved. So for Project Longevity, it was making sure if a brother wanted a CDL, get him a CDL. If a brother needed a job, get him a job. If a brother needed clothes for a job interview, get him the clothes. Get him some dress shoes. Get him a dress shirt. Get him dress pants so that he can look decent. If it meant schooling them to how to do an interview, it was doing things like that. It's making sure that the community has an invested role. One of the things that we also did was when I would go out to what's called case management, I would go with not only law enforcement, but community. So for me, it was utilizing the Firebirds, which is a black fraternal organization of black and Hispanic firemen. Now, they know the conditions of our community. A lot of them are from here. So it was working hand in hand with them. It's also working hand in hand with a coach, a Little League coach from, let's say, New Hallville or from Fairhaven. It's working with people that are recognized from the school system so that we can go into their house, go to a house and say, Isaiah Carr, man, your name's coming up a lot, baby, man. We need you to do different, man. We need for you to have some different places you go and hang around some different faces. Because if you keep hanging around with the same faces that you're hanging with and you keep hanging in the same places that you're hanging with, there's already been a lot of people who've died on those same corners and streets. We don't want you to be a victim. So it was going to them in that light, and I have to tell you, if I could get to somebody's door, knock on it, and if I could talk to you for a minute, I'm going to end up at your dining room table. I'm going to end up in your living room couch. I'm going to end up in your den. And I'm going to make sure that to bring you and let you know that this isn't just a police issue. It's not just a law enforcement issue, that it's all of our issues. That you as a mother or as a father or as a grandfather or as an uncle, all of us have a stake in what happens to Isaiah. All of us can be an intervening factor. It's a lot of times we see our children in the midst of dirt and we don't say nothing until it's too late. We don't have to wait till it's too late. We don't have to wait for that mother to be screaming because her child is at the emergency room and will not be going home with her. So it's making sure that the community and the police work hand in hand. When we develop that kind of relationship and we keep it going, we're going to impact change. Carl Jacobson, he's on the way to it. All we have to do is just maintain it and stick to it. I'm kind of lost at that. On some points, I see it getting better. because we're seeing the proliferation of black police chiefs, which for years we did not see. Now in every major city, we have seen black police chiefs. We have seen the coming of black mayors. We have gone from cleaning City Hall to running City Hall. And we have to stay on that. We have to stay on that vision, and we have to maintain that it's not just us and them. This is the quality of life where we all live, work, or play affects all of us. Whether you come into the city of New Haven and only work for 8 hours, or whether you come in the city of New Haven for Thursday or Friday to go to a club or a movie, it all affects our quality of life. So I'm torn between not seeing black and brown rise to the level of intervening in our community. We have people who will constantly hate and point the finger, but as they're pointing the finger, they forget there's 3 fingers pointing back at them. What are you doing about the situation? I hear you talking about what they should do, but what are you doing? What are you doing to make a difference? So until we get past the impasse of people who live in our communities, them having a say, them coming, stop being an ostrich and sticking your head in the sand, and while gunshots are going on all around you. He said, I grew up in the Ville. We started out at 166 Shelton Avenue, we moved to 230 Star Street, and then we moved to the end of Shelton Avenue, just over the Hamden line. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't in Leaving the Beaver territory. But the things that I saw that were successful in my neighborhood. So I had to live behind a cop, Detective Clarence Huff, who ended up becoming a sergeant and was one of my academy masters. Growing up, it was nothing for us to see black cops living in our community. Now, with the residency clause having been eliminated, the reason we're sitting where we are right now is because to become a police officer in the city of New Haven in 1978, you had to live in the city of New Haven. There's a residency clause. And I was looking for a house. I was buying a house in Hamden that I had to give up. And I found this house. And when I moved into this house, there happened to be 12 of us, 12 cops who lived just in this neighborhood. Now I'm the only one. It leaves a vacuum, because when the cops lived here, of course, we're going to be the first ones to say, oh, we got a house over here that's a problem house, or the store over here we think is. But now, with me being the only one and having neighbors who don't take an active role, as well as in New Haven, you are going through gentrification. You're seeing communities that used to be ghettos with a hood. But now, guess what? You can't go on Winchester Avenue and get a 2-bedroom apartment without paying $2,000. Winchester Avenue, Winchester and Munson, them having an open house 2 months ago. And speaking of $4,000 for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. If you can pay $4,000, brother, you can pay a mortgage. You can pay a mortgage where the house is sitting way back on the hill and the stable's off by the barn. But in this gentrification, one of the things that we have to look at and recognize, just like in this neighborhood is a very diverse neighborhood. It's black, brown, white, Hispanic, Islam, a lot of Muslims from Sudan, from Afghanistan, from Iraq. We have a big influx of Muslims. You have a big influx of Asians, and it's the point of getting everybody to work together. And the Muslims, sad to say, because of culture, it's hard to get them involved. There are rules about how the women coming out of the homes and being accompanied, and women in Islam, you don't touch a woman. If you meet a woman, pleasure to meet you. There's no shaking hands. So until we get to the point of community really being invested, and I mentioned gentrification because we have people who are the last to arrive, who don't look like us, who are the last to arrive in the community, but want to change the dynamics of the community. As I said, I'm a community leader within this community. I had someone recently in a community meeting come to me and say, "You're a gatekeeper." Stacy Spell isn't a gatekeeper. The West River Neighborhood Services Corporation, yes, is a gatekeeper. And gatekeepers are three ways. You have gatekeepers who say, "Yeah, you can come to my community, but put a little something in my hand." Or you can come to my community, but I want a street or I want a park named after me. Or you can come into my community and I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do for my community. I don't want anything out of it, just to meet the altruistic needs of my community. So yes, our community is a gatekeeper. We don't want high-rise buildings built on the edge of the city. Where you throw a rock, you're in West Haven. On the other side of the river, it's West Haven. So until we get to the point of communities in the midst of gentrification bonding and having one clear mission and not being stuck in cliques, we're going to have a problem. The police department is still doing everything they can, even in the midst of a manpower shortage. The mission that they've embarked on, they know that working with the community works. I've been with the chief at shootings and him telling a family, "Listen, we know, all of us know who did it, but please let your family know. Please, everybody chill. Let us do our job. We're going to make an arrest. We're going to solve this. But please, don't anybody." And that's worked. Because, in some families, I have to tell you, you shot my cousin? Okay, guess what? Now it's on site. And that's what we're seeing. So as long as we strive to create unity, that we strive to meet the needs of our community, that we speak with one voice, there's nothing we can't do. As far as policing, like I said, that's a challenge. That's a challenge. And we'll have to see where we end up. There was a group of policemen hired in New Haven with all 5 minorities last week. So the chief is bending over backwards. He knows the formula that works. When you have people who are from the community, policing the community, it goes a lot further. And it's a lot more successful. I hope I answered most of your questions. Like I said, I know I'm a storyteller. I gave you quite a bit of information, but feel free at any time, young cousin, come back, man. Come back anytime you got a question. And like I said, I'm always going to tell you the truth. I'm always going to tell you the real.
Dang.
There's always going to be haters. There was haters with Christ, and there's going to be haters now. We're just going to stick to what we know is right, saving lives, impacting the quality of lives. There's no reason why our children should grow up hearing gunshots and flinching. That's unacceptable.